much does it cost to resurface 1 kilometer of urban road, resurface and rehabilitate it? How much does it cost? So that we have an understanding that if you are going to release 1 billion, at least how many kilometers are you looking to have resurfaced or fixed?
I just wanted to know, out of the 17 billion that you are dispersing, how much was the total collection?
Is there a way that Zinara, since you are dispersing funds, to give us a way to real-time track the money that's given to local authorities? Because we'll continue to hold you responsible until we see how much money is going to local authorities and how they're using it. So is there a way we can incorporate technology in a real-time internet tracker that we can see how much money is going to these local authorities? Thank you.
Which yardstick or what yardstick do you use to determine the allocations of funds? I hear you say for Harare you're giving 1 billion, then Marsh Central this amount, Natale this amount, this amount. So what yardstick do you use to determine to say we're giving 1 billion to Harare and 800,000 to Natale?
Just briefly, the cost of resurfacing the road, the engineer will give you more details around that. But I think it is important also to spell out that the cost for the disbursement varies. There are various categories. So there's resurfacing, there's clearing bridge, drainage, potholes, and all the issues that come behind it. But what is more important to understand is that the Zinara funds are not for new road construction. Zinara funds are for maintenance. When you build a road, you have to maintain that road. The reason why the funds like Zinara and others in other countries were formed, it was purely for road maintenance, being periodic maintenance and routine maintenance. Thus, when those funds are dispersed, the local authorities or the councils are supposed to maintain the roads. So what went wrong in the past is that for almost 7 years or so, roads were not being maintained, which is why now they are usually damaged. So we'll break down the cost for you through the engineer. But I thought it was important for us to understand what the purpose of Zinara funds are for. So when you give a council and then they start constructing a new road, so you find that all those funds end up going to maybe 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers. But if they spread it around in terms of maintenance, the funds stretch further. So that also has got a formula behind it in terms of allocation. There's an engineering formula which the engineer will just take you to show you the exact factors that we consider. And most of those factors have to do with the length of the road. So Harare has got the biggest length, which is why you see they get a lion's share. But behind that huge length of road, we only fund gazetted roads. So if the council sells stands to people and then they don't put up a road which will later on be gazetted, it's a disadvantage to the community, because that road, for Zinara to be able to use public funds to maintain that road, the road has to have gone through a proper process of being gazetted and serviced at initial phase. So some stands maybe could have been sold and there was no road infrastructure put there, and the rains come, and so that's why you see all these roads that are damaged, but some of them are not really official roads, or they would not have been taken through the process. So the one of the cost of resurfacing and then the yardstick that we use, the formula that we use, the engineer will take us through. Before he does, the allocation for this year, we are saying we'll disperse 17 billion. Of that 17 billion, our projection is that this year we'll collect around 34 billion. So 17 billion will go directly to the road for new construction. And then there's another amount which the FD will also clarify, which will go back to paying the loan for Plumtree border to Mtare border post, the main highway. So we are still paying for that road. We constructed that road through the funds that came from DBSA. The loan was for 206 million US, and we have to pay back the loan. So most of the funds which you won't see out of that 34 billion will be going to construct the road. In terms of the money that then comes to running Zinara, it's just below 4% of that. So effectively, 95% of that 34 billion that will be collected will have to go back to the roads, either through direct disbursement, repayment of the loans, or paying agency fees through collection. But as Zinara for administration, our factor is very small. The last one before I hand over to my colleagues was the tracking of councils. I think that's a very, very important one, and we'll definitely be implementing that. We have already started the first phase. We used to disperse almost on a daily basis, but now we've put it in a structured manner where we'll disperse twice a month. And then when we do so, we'll make sure that we put it in our website and we'll throw it to the media as well. Thank you.
The question, how much does it cost to surface a kilometer? I think it would require a lecture on its own. It depends on your design. It depends on the traffic load to design what type of surfacing you are going to use. First, there is take and seal, which we use stone, and then prime or tar. Then there is asphalt overlay. It has got a different cost, but it's determined by your design, how much the surfacing will cost. So you might either use 13mm stone and 6mm stone with your bitumen, or use 19mm stone with 13mm stone for take and coat. Then there's asphalt overlay. Asphalt overlay is the one that has been put there. I think you know Connaught Road. That's asphalt overlay. It's expensive. And it depends also on your thickness. You might put 10mm, 20mm, 40. In Dubai, they go up to 150mm. So the cost will vary depending on your design for the surface. That's what you want to achieve. But as the CEO has already explained, we are not into new road construction. We are preserving what we already have. That is maintenance. That's why we don't deal with surfacing. Then the second question, allocation of funds. This one depends on the National Road Condition Survey. It was last done in 2002. They attempted to do another one in 2017. The National Road Conditions Survey classifies roads into paved, earth road, gravel road, unpaved, number of kilometers, age of the road. There are various factors that classify the road. But basically, the disbursement formula is based on the kilometers that a particular road authority has, to put it in short. So that's how we use a disbursement formula to calculate each allocation for each road authority. Thank you.
So the question is to do with the source of the 9.5 billion, the source of the 17 billion. Just to say that there are two key income streams that contribute the bulk of the collections that we make on a daily basis, on an annual basis. And those are the toll fees and the licensing fees. Those are the big ones. We've got other smaller ones, but really these are the ones that go towards the roadworks. And what we do is that we try to maximize the collections, and therefore our focus is very much on traffic movement. Are we therefore collecting the maximum traffic at the toll gate as we should? As all vehicles pass through the toll gate, we want to get that toll fee. All the vehicles that should be licensed around the country, there are various strategies that we are putting in place to make sure that those vehicles get licensed. That's why you will then find that when we talk of the 9.5 billion, it came out of 20 billion that we collected from all these fees. In the 34 billion that the CE and the chairman mentioned, we are quite confident that that 34 billion is going to come, and therefore the 17 billion to road authorities is certainly going to happen. In terms of, therefore, how we disburse, I think the technical director has mentioned that we pay only when they've cleared the previous payment that we did. Very important because we don't want to be pumping out money that we can't see a return or evidence that the work that was supposed to be done was actually done. So that's what we do there. And the CE did mention another very important payment or commitment that we have, which is the DBSA loan. which was in arrears. I'm sure you would have been picking it as reporters. Everything has been done, and I think we are right now at a stage where we should be able to regularize it completely. So in last year, 2021, we paid 5 billion against that commitment to make sure that it's regularized. So I can summarize, Chair, that certainly the 34 billion for this year is a gross collection will happen, and the 17 billion that has been earmarked for our road authorities will happen, and we trust that ERRP will progress as smoothly as, if not better than what happened in 2021. Thank you.
You said you disperse funds after you see evidence of the funds that you would have dispersed previously would have been completed on something. So far, do you see any evidence of those funds working from the 7 billion that you dispersed in the previous year?
I want maybe putting it differently. When you disperse 1 billion to Harare, what do you expect? I mean, surely you must have a benchmark to say that we have dispersed 1 billion. We're expecting to have 10 kilometers of road or something like that. You must have a benchmark. So if you say it depends, I want you to tell me that we disbursed 1 billion to Harare because it depends on ABC. Do you expect them to work on 10 kilometers of road? And secondly, the CEO says that the Zinara fund is for rehabilitating roads. Honestly, CEO, do you think Zimbabwean roads or Harare roads need to be rehabilitated or they need to be reconstructed in their current form?
My issue is slightly different. I want to know about your traffic response, which you're planning to introduce. Explain to us how it works and who gets it and where are you going to introduce it?
I have a question for construction and maintenance, what you're saying now. There are some roads which are, even if you are not engineered, they really need construction rather than maintenance. So just want a clarification on that.
A report by Parliament picked some excesses, some mismanagement in Zinara, and it recommended that the board should recover some of the funds. I want to find out from you how far have we gone. I know the board just came into office and said how far have we gone to recover those funds.
You talked about approaching banks for some financing facilities. How much are you seeking to raise through the lab?
I think I'll start with the two where it says evidence of the funds that were dispersed to you. So what happens is I think it's also intertwined with the one that was asked by Mr. Mhlanga. So the first process, it comes from the road authorities themselves and the Ministry of Transport. So every year, at the beginning of the year, like we do, the road authority and the Ministry of Transport develop their own road program. So in terms of what is going to be done on the roads does not come from Zinara. It comes from the road authority. For instance, Harare will share with the Ministry of Transport and say, this is our road program for 2022. These are the roads that we intend to fix. And then they put various issues that they want to do in line with the budget figure that would have been given to them. So what is the expectation? The expectation is, number one, let's face reality. The reality is the amount that we collect as Zinara vis-a-vis what is needed out for the roads, they don't tally. We collect, best case scenario, maybe 10% of what would actually be worthwhile in the country for the roads to be fully fixed. So what we collect, the reality is it's not enough, it's not adequate. But be that as it may, the program for that particular year comes from that specific road authority. So when we disperse to the city of Harare 1 billion, we are doing so in line with the road program that they would have specified. Most probably, the second point would be that road authorities may need to expose to the public their road programs for the year. And from that road program, you'll be able to see what it is that they intend to do. But I think reality has to come in to say, yes, they will provide that road program, and people will realize that, you know what, it's not adequate. So what we have been doing as Zinara, which is what the government asked us to do, is to say, what are the new ways of raising money? Right now, we are mainly dependent on what we collect. So going forward, the government will most probably work with Zinara, authorize Zinara and Treasury to be able to get funding from third parties, from financial private players. So we are currently working with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Transport and other government agencies to see what other sources of funding can be looked at so that we up the pace and be able to do the roads better. So we are aware that the funds are not adequate, but we are saying with that little that we give you, show us what you have done. And that can only be done if each and every road authority produces quality output. So the evidence is that within Zinara, we've got a technical department that also does M&E, monitoring and evaluation. So we follow the money. So we will give you the money, never mind how much it is, but we'll check how much or how you use those funds for. So the FT was talking of acquittal. So if you come beginning of the year, we will release 10% as a deposit. But before you come for more, you have to acquit those funds. You have to show us what you did with those funds. And that is only when we are able to give. You will see last year some municipalities will say, Zinara didn't give us funds on time. But if you go back to that, you realize that they did not acquit on time. So if you don't acquit on time as a road authority, you won't be able to get the funds to fix your roads before rainy season. So my colleagues will close off. So rehabilitated or construction, you know what, we accept, as the chairman said, the reality is there for us to see. We are not going to sugarcoat it. The roads are bad. The money that we have is the money that we'll share. But going in the long run, we'll find new ways of getting more funds so that we face our reality, we construct roads as we go. The Travelers Express Pass, we also, one of the things that we are seized with are the toll gates congestion. Now, the toll gates are congested. The infrastructure needs to be improved. We have made provision for that as well, to improve some of the toll gate infrastructure. You will see we've already started with Norton to expand the gates at busy gates. So the Travelers Express Pass basically is a prepayment model. So for now, we have got a model where one can prepay for their trips on a monthly basis. For instance, if you say I stay in Marondera, I drive to Harare through Goromons every day, so can I buy passes that will equate to my trips for the month? You buy that pass, and then it will enable you to drive through the toll gates without really spending more time. So the Travelers Express Pass at the toll gate takes 2 seconds. It opens the gate, you are out. So we will then be introducing another one, which is trip aligned to your trip. So for instance, if you say you're going to Bulawayo, you would need 10, then you prepay for those 10, and then you go, you come back, and you're able to go without any hassles. We are aware that the infrastructure that we have is still inadequate, which is why we've got the toll gate program, which will also separate the infrastructure to make sure that those that are prepaid, have got passes already paid for, they go through the gates without any hassles. The report that was presented to Parliament, you'll find that it's an old audit report, which the chairman was referred to. I think the oldest issues there are issues that were up to 2016. So what was expected of Zinara was to action that report and make sure that all the issues there are fully actioned. So we have prepared a full detailed report, which we presented to the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Finance for further presentation to Parliament by the Minister of Transport, Honorable Mona. So what we can assure you is that almost 90% of the issues that were raised there have been fully addressed. Some of them are legacy issues. So in terms of the one that has to deal with recovery of funds, the people who were cited there, all of them are no longer with Zinara, but all of them were notified of the issues, and the issues are now before the courts. Wouldn't want to expand more, but would say that all the issues that were there, they are in front of the courts. They've been fully addressed. The ones that were flowery, like saying what are some of the staff benefits, the HR director has got a Bible certificate. I think all those were fully addressed. He has got a master's. And this one is a CA as well. So most of the issues have been addressed, and we now have a new team. But the report now is awaiting Parliament presentation, and that will be done by Honorable Mona. And then approaching banks, how much are you looking at? So what we do, we disperse that which we have collected. So we are aware of the state of the roads. If we wait to collect in November and say we'll just be collecting and dispersing, you'll find that the roads will be deteriorating. So there are various approaches that we're looking at. So one of the one that we want to do immediately now is where the banks give us in advance the funds, and we give those funds to the road authorities. For instance, this year we'll disperse 17 billion. If we get a portion of that, 25%, and we give to the road authorities and they work on it right now, it will make our roads better. And so those are the facilities that we'll work on. Then the other ones that involve long-term funding, we will do those with the Minister of Finance. I'll hand over to my colleagues to elaborate more on the issues. Thank you.
So right now we are focusing on putting on the table for all the road authorities a deposit as they start phase 3 of ERRP2. They will need to establish, they will need to put materials on the ground and so forth before they actually start the work. So that's the deposit that we are focusing on right now. And the banks that we are working with will be giving us 5 billion, approximately 5 billion against the 17 billion. The idea being they therefore have this upfront payment, they start the work, then thereafter we disburse further money to them as long as they clear the initial 5 billion which they would have given them as deposit. And the collections obviously will then be coming on a monthly basis as we get towards the target of the 17 billion by the end of the year. So really that is the idea behind the 5 billion, to just ensure that continuous work is done and there are no breaks. I think on the matter of how do you know that work has been done before you disperse, I think the CE has already touched on that, because it's really to do with the technical department being on the ground at all the provinces, actually seeing the actual work as it is done and as it is completed. And then we also have got an internal audit department that then goes around literally to the road authorities to see the books of accounts and see how that money was actually applied on the ground. And then they do make reports which go to the board and also go eventually to the different road authorities for actioning. Otherwise, the rest, I think Chief has already dealt with them properly. Thank you.
Like the CEO has explained, it's not Zinara who decides which road is going to be done. It's the road authorities. For example, in Mudzi, they would have council committee meetings where they sit and decide which roads in which wards they are going to do. So they submit to Zinara for financing. So at the disbursement process is like when we have a projected budget like 17 billion for this year, we write to each local authority advising them that your allocation is X. You are supposed to fit all your projects into that X amount. They sit as a council or as a road authority. Then they come up with a list of roads which fit into our allocation. Then they submit to Zinara. So Zinara goes through the list and then it submits to the Minister of Finance. Those projects are published in the Blue Book if you want to see them. Every year when the national budget is done, the roads are already in the Blue Book. So they are already there, they are decided. But the council is allowed to do a variation or to reprioritize their projects if they see fit. But it comes from the road authority, not from Zinara. Then there was a question about rehabilitation and reconstruction. In engineering, there is no difference. It's a matter of semantics. Like Harare Bed Bridge Road now, it's not new construction, it's rehabilitation. Because they are using existing material. They are recycling the base material, then adding a new base. And new road construction involves road clearing, subgrade preparation. You are starting afresh. So rehabilitation or reconstruction engineering, especially in the roads, is the same. You are rehabilitating what was there. You are reconstructing, but using some of the existing materials.
My question is, as the chair talked about improving systems of toll gates, I want to ask a question about Univen. The minister last year promised to adjust the contract between Univen and Zinara, which he described as A1. I just want to understand so far what have you done to adjust the contract
Unasa kubvunza kuti pane mukana here kuti iyo Zinara ikwanise kuita zvese kukolekta nekugadzisa migwagwa yacho, nokuti kazhinji kacho tinozwa blame game kudzoka back kuZinara kana vacho vamuri kupa mari dzacho vasi kudzishandisa nemazvo, nokuti veruzhinji vari kukomblena nenhau yekuti magravels ndi ari kungokandwa mumakomba muya mvura ikanaya zvoerera, saka rehabilitation yacho is not sustainable.
Explanation on the loan that you're talking about. Let me just give us a breakdown, because you said you're going to be public, you're going to be transparent. So can you talk to us about the loan and what do you still need to pay? And was it a useful loan in your assessment? Since you are new, give us your new assessment. Was it a useful loan to the people of Zimbabwe?
If you noticed, and I understand the concerns, and the concerns that you are having are the concerns of the owners of the money, who are the Zimbabweans. There's an issue in the audit reports, which number one was the issue to do with the Univen, which my brother here has asked, which I think the question will also be linked, the answer will be linked to the question on the DBSA. These were red flags in the report. All I can say is obviously there are reports. There's something that's happening. If you remember, if you read that the report from Parliament and the forensic audit, they were told to readjust issues like these loans. They were in perpetuity. There was no end date for these loans. If you remember all those issues, and I can assure you that this rebranded Zinara is working on that. And you hear when the minister is presenting to Parliament, I think there were 48 issues, right? 48. Yeah, cool. All these issues will be answered. But obviously, I think see what you can get in and deal on these three questions. Especially, don't forget a question says, forensic report.
Yeah. So thank you. Just to throw in some specifics. Improving toll gates, I think, like I said, it's an ongoing program. It's a very key one. It's included in the budget for this year. We will be working with the Minister of Transport to improve on the toll gates. The Univen contract, as the chair is saying, yes, we have attended to that contract. We are currently almost at a phase of finalizing because we have to hand it over for governance processes. But the contract basically, Univen are the ones who provide the cost system for Zinara. So the tolling system that you see at the toll gates is a Univen system. So we use it for collection, and there's a system that has been there, which other entities have to connect it through them. Sometimes are exposing their APIs. But the contract is being attended to. We are making sure that the contract also takes into account the rights and the benefits to Zinara and the public. I think the query was that it was more in favor of them as an entity than us, but I think all those issues have been attended to fully, and within a few months, a proper contract after doing all the regulatory and governance issues will be issued. In terms of Zinara, going back to the days of old of being a player and a referee, we do not recommend that for now. What we do recommend is that the road authorities be made accountable. I think there was a colleague who talked about tracking. So I think that's what we are going to do. We will expose what we disperse to the media. And this is where the media now has to play a part as well. Where the road program is there, will be exposed. What has been dispersed is there, will be exposed. What is, when it is being dispersed, would also be exposed. And it is now for the media to also play a part and say, how far have you gone? I think it is important for us to accept like our reality, to say, yes, we know that the roads are fully damaged. What is being dispersed, one can look at it and say, no, this is nothing. But guess what? It's one step at a time. So we are saying that nothing, if used diligently, professionally, and for its intended purposes, and there's quality behind it, it moves, and there will be an element of progress. And what we're asking for from road authorities is that element of progress, so that they don't get funds, they fix a pothole, after 3 weeks, the pothole is back. But we're saying, get the funds, whatever you're fixing, do it in a quality manner and move on to something else. The breakdown of the loan, I think this one, was the loan useful? I think the answer is yes, it was useful. Before, driving from Plumtree to Mtara was not easy, so it was useful. It gave us a road. But there are 2 sides to each and every coin, and both sides have financial value. It was an expensive loan. It is an expensive loan, which is why we easily went into arrears. And for the past 15 months or so, we've been rectifying those areas so that the South African bank does not call back the loan and put Zimbabwe on the red. At the end of the day, DBSA also provides funds for other sectors as well. So which is why for us, Zinara, it has been important as Zinara and Ministry of Transport and Ministry of Finance to make sure that the loan is regularized. That way, it opens for other sectors within the government. So it was a useful loan. We went into arrears, we went into the red. We have reviewed it. We are now also signing again the regularized form with DBSA so that it's regular. And I think at this pace, if the tariff is okay, we'll be able to repay. I think where things went wrong was that the tariff went down and it went to Zim dollar, yet we had a US dollar loan, and thus we're not able to service it. But now, as long as we remain with a competitive tariff, we'll be able to repay the loan and quickly open up for more funding. We thank you.